The problem here is that there will always be some uncertainty about how quickly he can acquire a nuclear weapon. But we don't want the smoking gun to be a mushroom cloud.
Condoleezza Rice, who was then President Bush's national security advisor, talking during the lead up to the Iraq war in September 2002 about something that was not true. Joining us now is retired Army Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson. He served as Chief of Staff to Secretary of State Colin Powell in the lead up to the war in Iraq. He has since been a rather unafraid truth teller about what went so wrong at that time in our country. Colonel Wilkerson, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thanks for having me, Rachel.
How would you describe the prevailing mindset in your party, among Republicans active in the party today, about the war in Iraq? A lot of Democrats supported the war. That has become a political liability, and Democrats essentially had to repent if they supported the war. How do you think Republicans feel about it now?
Rachel, that depends on to whom you're speaking. Some, like myself, I think Brent Scowcroft, Chuck Hagel, and others I would describe as moderates, a dying breed in the Republican Party, by the way. As Hagel has said in the past, believe that Iraq was a catastrophe. Still believe that, and believe that history's verdict ultimately will be that. Others in the party are trying desperately to defend the decision because they see it as impacting their future possibilities of particularly regaining the White House. And still others just don't want to listen. They're sort of like that crew that you were describing in your opening remarks that won't believe the truth even if it hits them in the face. And incidentally, I was using the LBJ revelations in my seminar today to demonstrate to my students some of the nefarious and venal things that happen at the highest levels of power in this country.
You know, thinking about the Republican possibility of regaining the White House, as you say, people are making that political calculation about how they have to explain their past behavior. I think that it's in any presidential year, it's about a 50-50 chance that a Republican or a Democrat will take the White House. I mean, give or take the circumstances. But as I think about that, that's why I am worried about the Republican Party not sort of getting right about what happened there, because it's possible we are going to have a Republican president sometime soon again. And I want to know that the Republican Party has been through an acknowledgement about what went wrong there and some sort of process to make sure it doesn't happen again. Do you feel like there is at least honesty that it was a mistake, that there's some effort to make sure it doesn't happen again?
I wish I could say yes. I wish I could answer in the affirmative. I'll tell you that one of the basic reasons I cast a vote for President Obama this time around, even though I'm a Republican, a second time around, although I'd lost some faith in him because he didn't close Guantanamo and didn't do some other things I wish he'd done. The main reason I cast that vote that way was because I kept thinking that Mitt Romney would be another George W. Bush. That despite the fact that there's often a consistency, regardless of who's in the White House in our foreign policy, that of late there's developed this kind of schism in that foreign policy, and that Mitt Romney would indeed lead us down the road to another catastrophic war in Western Asia, this one with Iran. I still believe that, and so I'm quite happy that I voted the way I did.
Having been there while it was going so wrong and knowing so many of the players involved, seeing it up close, when you think about our governance, do you think there's something that we can do now as a country to try to make it right, to fix the harm that we did to ourselves as a country by doing that, not just politically, but the real harm caused? Is there any way we can try to fix the strategic error of that war internally and internationally?
I think it boils down to the American people. I would like to say there's institutional change we could make, statutorily or otherwise. I would like to say that we could elect different people. I would like to say all manner of things that would be easier to do, but I think the bottom line is the American people have got to get angry, and they've got to start doing things, local things, state things, national things, whatever they can find or think to do. I was in Great Neck, New York, talking to a synagogue group this last weekend, and I'll tell you that all those people were war-weary and sick and tired of all the money we've been spending. They're Jewish Americans, and yet they see what we're doing. They see what we're doing in terms of Israel. They see what AIPAC does from time to time in terms of influencing U.S. policy. And they see how it would lead potentially to another war, this time with Iran, as I said. And the American people need to get angry. They need to get as angry as these people were. They need to do things. They need to write their senators, write their representatives, call them, do whatever they can do within their capacity. Some have a greater capacity than others. But it's ultimately going to take the American people to say we are sick and tired of the military instrument being that which represents America to the world and war being its manifestation. Until we do that, we're going to have more of it.
Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson, Chief of Staff to Secretary of State Colin Powell during the lead up to the war in Iraq. That view that you are seeing out in the world that you're talking about is reflected in public opinion polling. That's what people say. They think the war in Iraq was a mistake. They don't want another war anywhere else. But whether it's manifest in a way that resonates inside the Beltway, I think is still an open question. Thank you so much for your time tonight, sir. I really appreciate having you here.
Thank you, Rachel. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. And a reminder that our look back at how the world and the country was sold on the Iraq War, Hubris, is going to air this Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern. All right. Today was a big day for new ideas in American politics. And by new, think Betamax. Think Commodore 64. Think Pong. Boldly into the future. That's just ahead.
Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. We do not give up. Expect surprises. Subscribe.